Welcome to the Unconsumed podcast. This marks episode 10, Chris. Right?
Yeah, 10. 10 spot.
I'm Lee Corning.
And I'm Chris Ryder.
And so today we are going to take the number one request of our viewer, and that is that these are too long. But as you know, podcasts are often too long.
We got a lot to say.
So we're going to break it up.
Yeah, how about that?
You'll notice if you've seen us more than once is that we generally do two topics, so it'll break up nicely.
Yeah.
One segment will be 20 minutes, and then we'll do the second part, which would be another 20 minutes or so, and then we'll add the what's annoying Chris and Lee this week to that second part, and now you'll have two clean segments, and we'll publish those, and we'll also publish both together on YouTube for if you want to sit down and watch the whole thing.
Yeah, so you can watch it all in one sitting, or you can break it up, but, you know, we're just constantly innovating this thing.
Catering to the...
This is maybe our second innovation. The first was when we turned the camera to landscape instead of portrait. That was huge. You remember that?
Absolutely
That was a big day.
Because, I don't know, if you ever have a chance to go back or if you're picking this up for the first time, look at episode 1. It's comical how
it's good content, but it looks awful. It's pretty funny to watch.
It was our first try. What do you want?
I know. Got to crawl before you can walk. Mm-hmm. So today, you want to introduce what we're talking about in segment 1, part 1?
Yeah, sure. So basically, what we're going to talk about is the future of the living room in your house and the future of your home office in your house, right? So, and maybe we'll touch on like what the office, the future of the office, like you come into for work.
The future of work, yeah, tech-wise.
And the reason I was thinking about this is because we're switching houses right now, and so the reason I use switching houses rather than moving is because we're just going down the road a couple minutes. So now I have this new space that I'm looking at for the first time, and I'm thinking, okay, what am I going to want in this space? What will I want in the future in this space?
Right.
And so I ran down and thought of a few things that I want. I've spent several hours like messing in one of those. There's these apps you can download that will allow you to like plan a space and input all of the feet and inches so that things fit. And so basically I'm thinking, all right, I've got a decent little space. What am I going to do with it? So that's what's got me on this.
Nice. It's a good thought because we're in this rapid pace of innovation, especially in the home with smart home devices, and you know you've got your Echo and your Google Home and everything you can talk to. So yeah, I think it's pretty interesting to think about what might be different in the home. Yeah,
and so that lends itself very easily into like what could my living room look like, because I think it'll change pretty rapidly. So for instance, we're buying a house that was built in the 90s, and in this house there is a giant built-in cabinet with about 40 inches of space that you could put a giant tube TV in. And oh, by the way, the screen is the area for the screen is completely square.
Right.
So I don't think I could even buy a TV that would fit it.
Yeah.
And if I did, say I found a flat screen thin TV, it would be wasting all that space behind it. So I think there's different ways to operate on this. Like for instance, in the house that we're in right now, we ended up just mounting the TV above the fireplace, and that's worked out pretty well. But it's stone, and so like I've got a PlayStation 4 that we get the TV off, like crammed behind it. So there's things that you could do that are better.
Yeah, our house is like that. So we've got this space that's you can tell is built for an entertainment center.
Right.
And I used to have this entertainment center. It had a cable box, it had a DVD player, and it had a receiver for the surround sound. And it had, a gaming system. Now, all of those things are virtually gone. I don't use the receiver anymore. I don't know why we don't use those things anymore, but I don't. I don't have a cable box anymore because I don't use the cable.
Right.
I don't really use the DVD player. I took that out. So all I've got is like a Roku. Actually, there in that room, I have a Fire Stick. So it's not even on the desk. It's just plugged into the back. So
I don't need nothing but space there.
Yeah, I don't need any of that. And I've got a TV that's that thin, and I've got, like you said, 40 inches or so of space. So mounted to the wall, you can't even see it from parts. So yeah, our houses are designed today for the technology that existed when they were built 10, 15 years ago.
Exactly. So I think, and this will be the item number 1 on my list, is that I don't... So you've seen the influx of like tiny house, and there's shows about it and stuff.
Yeah.
I think I don't want a tiny house just because I want a little bit of separation. I want space, but I think everything could be you could take your living room and make it much smaller, considering that there doesn't need to be a 400-pound TV in there, or a console that needs to handle all of your extra things that used to be large and now are the size of your phone, or
Right.
at max the size of Xbox or PlayStation 4, you know?
Yeah, so do you want to talk a little bit about some things that you see coming or that you've read about that are coming that are interesting? I have a couple of thoughts as well.
Yeah, we can take it anywhere you want to go.
Well, so I have a lot of connected devices now today. What's I think missing from that intelligent home is like actual artificial intelligence. So like now I can turn off my sprinkler, from my phone. It has some intelligence based on the weather in the area. You can turn off your thermostat from home, but in terms of like being predictive about that and being able to tap into diagnostics on my sprinkler and say, you've got a sprinkler head that's busted, or your AC unit is, the solenoid switch that you keep having to replace every 3 years is going to go out in 2 weeks.
Right.
Those kinds of like diagnostic, predictive, intelligent type design, I think is coming. I think it's coming in the next 10 years or so.
Right.
As all these devices start talking to one another and they start to build that capability within the actual machines themselves.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be really cool. I think we're missing something like that.
Yeah, and so you called Amazon Home Services and they came out and put all that stuff out for you, and those are like the building blocks for all of this stuff, right?
Yes.
So how's that been so far?
Good. So I have a connected sprinkler system controller, which is pretty neat. I don't yet have a Nest or what's the other one? Echo Bee. I don't yet have a smart thermostat.
Okay.
Because I just don't feel like it's that helpful yet. Like I can program an old school thermostat.
Okay.
And the ability to turn it on and off when I'm away would be great. But what I want it to do is say it's 44 degrees outside, so kick the heat on up to 75. Or it's 98 degrees outside, so kick the AC on down to 72.
Right.
And that's the kind of intelligence that needs to exist beyond just the device itself and then my connection to it via my phone.
Right. So one thing that happens in our house is in Texas, the sun is a powerful entity, right? So in the morning, it will be cold in the house.
Yes, right.
And then midday, the sun is hitting my roof.
And all the windows and heating them. Yeah.
Man, does it heat up.
Absolutely.
It goes from about 71 to like 78, 79,
Yeah.
just in that window of like 11 a.m. to maybe 2. And so I would love a device that could say, hey, this is kind of peak time. We'll kick it on for you so you don't have to run out and turn it off.
Yeah, and I think those
turn
things
on.
can do that based on your behavior, right? So they learn your behavior. If I go in the morning and turn it up and down, it's going to know that and do that for you. Like that's the idea of how.
Do you have to do that enough times?
Yeah, but you have to do that for it to learn it, or you have to program it. But what I want is for it to know that, right? Like I'm doing it based on a behavior, based on something I see. You should see that and do it for me, right? That's the whole idea.
Or like you go up to your Echo and you're like, all right, Echo.
Yeah.
I want you to turn.
You take over.
Yeah, yeah. It should be like, okay.
Yeah, I got you.
It's gonna be hot in the middle of the day. You know that, right? She's like, yeah. Okay, make sure the thermostat adjusts to keep it around 73 around here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I also think that when I'm thinking about the house itself, the living room, I envision something much more modular and customizable, less focused on where are there outlets, where are there windows, where would a TV go, the ability to move technology and to rearrange, I think, like makes a space really completely open. If you think about like in New York, you get a flat and it's a big open space and you put, these modular kind of room dividers here and there. Right. I could see our homes becoming much more like that, where it's a box and you've got basically, once you go in there, infinite possibility to make this room 30 feet more, 30 square feet more, and this one less, and change this around. Like you don't need to be tied into where there's plumbing and where there's outlets and where you could put a TV, because you could really do all of that anywhere. Projectors and the need not to have to plug stuff in because it's all wireless.
The water and the electric is the thing that concerns me about that. So like I'm thinking modular would be epic because in theory it would be way easier to sell your house or buy a house because they're all very similar.
Yeah.
But then like the water hookups, like how do you run that through the modular approach?
Right.
So, I don't know.
I have another couple thoughts. I know I'm just rattling them off here, but I came up with some good stuff in there. Okay, so I live in a community, I think like you do, where there's probably been a lot of new home construction in the last few years, right? I am amazed when I see these big, 3,500 square foot houses going up. The frame, the structure, the amount of wood that's used to build a house.
Right.
And every piece of wood is a tree.
Okay.
Right? It is not a full tree, but it's a piece of a tree.
Right.
And all the homes in my neighborhood, there's just an immense amount of natural resource that's required to build those. And we've been building houses out of wood since ever, right? Since we moved on from mud. And I'm sort of surprised that we haven't moved on from that construction yet. I know there's advantages to wood, but there's also a ton of disadvantages to it as well.
Yeah, it's a plant.
Yeah, it's a plant. And also it deteriorates and it breaks down and it
like plants do.
Like plants do, right. It mildews, it gets insects. So I'm envisioning, if you take away the need to structure a house with, we have angled roofs because of the way that they have to be constructed so they don't fall apart.
Like the arch, but that's also for rain runoff.
Yeah, but the size of the houses and the way that they're made and the way that they're constructed, if you're not using wood, it opens up a lot of material options.
Right.
So, like, there's 3D printed everything now. So I'm envisioning years from now where the options are just limitless, and I can't even think of what all we could do. But not just from a sustainability perspective, but also probably a longevity, like how long this thing is a viable structure, how you could build different components of it, how long it takes to build, if you're using materials other than what we use today, concrete and wood.
So there's a lot of video out there of them building 3D printed housing. Right? Have you
really?
seen this?
No, I haven't.
There's 3D printing arms that will go in a square and slowly lay down a house.
Yeah.
Which is pretty awesome if you don't have a house.
And you have a printer.
Well, they'll
just build one.
They're doing them for like Habitat for Humanity right now.
Yeah.
They're going into places where there are no houses and people need houses, and they're saying, okay, this will stand up for like 15 years.
Yeah.
No problem.
Right.
Have at it. And it costs like $350 to make. Obviously, the machine they're using to make it costs much more.
Right.
But the materials are like $350.
But you could see that process, becoming more
so
full-time ready.
If you, in the evolution of that, you could say, all right, within this 3D print, we're going to print like a plastic layer. We're going for rain and to keep water out.
Right.
We're going to print your piping for different. Where water goes in and out, where your gas goes in and out.
Right.
And that could be pretty clearly marked because, have you ever bought an old house?
No.
So there's all these horror stories you hear where like, or have you ever seen one of those shows where they're like renovating a house?
Yeah.
And they open the wall and they're like, oh my goodness, look at all these pipes from 1930.
Yeah.
And it's like, we didn't know that was there.
Yeah.
And so if you printed it, you would be able to, if you were doing this all from scratch, you could look at an app on your phone and see where my pipes are.
Right, you know exactly where everything is.
And if you need to make switches, there could be pipes in other places in the house that aren't being used, but they're really just gaps in the 3D print.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's my thought on that. But we've gotten off the living room.
Oh, was this just living room?
Well, this is anything we want it to be.
Well, go ahead. Tell me some living room stuff. I have some other thoughts.
So one of the things I've been hearing a lot about is like a dual screen experience when you're watching a show. So like if you're watching a show by yourself, and this has become very popular in the last, I'd say 5 years.
In your last 5 years, watching shows by yourself? I'm just kidding.
I watch a lot of shows.
You in particular. As people stopped wanting to be around me, it's become much more popular to watch shows by myself.
Well, yeah, I've been married for like 5 years.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm kidding.
All right,
I'm not kidding.
Got it.
Anyways, so like there will be like Breaking Bad was the first show I saw that did this, and what you do is you're watching the show, and then
Oh,
everyone
yeah.
else that's watching the show is talking about the show
Right.
in a chat or
Yes.
something. And so there will be bonus content there and all these other things. So I'm thinking one of the things that I'm going to do in my new living room or new office, I'm not sure, is I'll have my TV and then I'll have a separate screen that's on an arm, and I can move it over in my eyesight to see, hey, here's my dual screen experience.
Yeah.
And it's very close as opposed to like holding an iPad.
In your lap and looking.
Yeah. So that's something I'm thinking about.
That's
I
a
do
good
like,
idea.
I like the idea of being able to move the screen, and you had some thoughts around that. So like right now I'm like plotting my new home office, and I have a screen because I like to watch CNBC while I'm working, and I want to be able to move that around. So I went on Amazon, and you can get a 4-wheel. It's not a cart; it's just like a stand on 4 wheels, and you can take a screen up to 70 inches and just roll it around like
Yeah.
you would an IV bag, you know.
You just take it everywhere you go.
There's a
walking
picture.
down the hall.
Yeah, there's a picture.
Yeah, see, I envision a time when the screen is unnecessary.
Okay.
That you've got short throw projectors with great quality that can project either on a surface or in midair. I mean, that's not completely out of question.
Right.
You know, you could do that from a watch, you could do it from a device, you could do it from this, and anything now is where your screen could be.
So when you say that, naturally, our listener thinks Obi-Wan Kenobi, right?
Yes,
You're the only
yeah.
one that can help or something.
Yeah, and Minority Report, like there's kind of the screens that are in air, and he's swiping and
Right.
gesturing, and those things are just kind of like static in air. That's not impossible
Doing
to
all that
accomplish.
stuff is like, it feels like a workout to me. I want to keep my range of motion. Like,
Just like do it with your eyes. Just be like,
even that, like this,
Too much?
is exhausting.
it's not sitting in the sauna at the gym.
No,
That's a workout.
I can't do that too long either. So what else you got on living room?
All wireless. I talked about modular. The other things I have are not living room related, but they are home related. So if you have a couple more living room,
I'm good on living room.
well, okay. Here's like the downside. We tend to think about the house of the future and technology of the future, and we think about all these cool things that are going to make our lives easier. I'm here to tell you, there's some garbage coming with it too.
Absolutely.
Everyone who owns the technology and the means to be able to deliver it are interested in advertising to you.
Yes.
So social media exists, and those stocks are amazingly high because of the ability to sell me to their advertisers.
Right.
They're not making money because you and I can share pictures of our food and dogs.
Right.
So everything that we're talking about that becomes an electronic data point, when I turn up my thermostat, when I water my yard, when I check on my AC, all of that is sold to advertisers.
Yes.
And the invasiveness that you feel today when you go to bananarepublic.com and then you go to CNN and you see that jacket across the top, that's nothing.
Right.
You're going to get the stuff you do in your house advertised everywhere you go.
When you go and turn your sprinklers on and off, they're going to say, you want some Scott's grass seed?
Yeah, absolutely.
You want the new fertilizer?
Yeah. Scott's is coming to your house. Click no to cancel. It's coming. Yeah, I like the more you are touching and interacting with some device, the more data points are out there about your behavior. And I think that will get to be obtrusive.
So there's a book about this that a good buddy of mine turned me on to, and I'm blanking on the name right now, but it's the premise is who owns all this data in the future. So what you're describing is, okay, so Facebook's stock price is like $180 a share right now, and that is solely based on your information.
Right.
So in the future, will social media sites have to pay the consumer to be on because you're generating all of their cash flow?
That's a good thought.
Right. So like, what is Facebook without the consumer or the user?
Is there a consumer protection?
There's no protection for you right now.
Right, I know, but is that something that becomes a thing, and then those companies end up having to source it?
Yeah, so
Yeah, that's a good thought.
every
I hadn't
month
thought
or
about it
so,
like that.
there's like someone that's a little older will post a thing that says Facebook's going to make you pay to use the site, and everyone those folks share it over and over again. You
Yeah.
seen these?
Yes, it's so stupid.
It will be the opposite.
Yes.
Facebook will have to pay you. Instagram will have to pay you to post pictures
Right.
and try to recommend things because
Yeah.
that's what's going on now. Or if they don't do that, they definitely should. And we'll come to a head on that in the future, I think.
All right, I got two other thoughts.
Do
One,
it.
and I've been talking about this ever since I owned a house and started maintaining my own lawn. I think I think maintaining a living yard is just kind of stupid.
It is.
It's just really weird and backwards. And in some areas of the country, maybe it's not. Maybe you don't do anything to it. But in the South,
gotta mow it.
In dry areas, we gotta put a ton of water on it. We gotta, we gotta mow it. That's a ton of energy. That's gasoline that's being used. It's emissions. We put chemicals into the ground to make it green and to make it grow. Our homeowners association gets pissed when there's weeds. Like all of this effort just to maintain what? Like a green grass. So I think artificial lawns or no lawns at all become a thing much more so than they are today. All of our sports teams are doing it. It makes a lot more sense than trying to maintain grass. So I'm looking forward to that day, and it's got to come soon.
So what you're describing is something I think about a lot, and I'm thinking about it right now for our new spot because when you go in the backyard, my conception of going back there is to play catch or to throw bean bags or just stand on it, right?
Yeah.
And so these yards are curved. And so if you go and call like a turf company, they'll come out with sand and dirt and
Yeah.
they will level it off. And
Right.
you'll have a flat area
Yeah.
that you'll never have to mow.
Right.
And so in order to like level things out, it's expensive. So we have I'd say maybe a 2,000 square foot area in our backyard. Is that accurate?
Yeah, at least. I think
Right.
your yard's at least that big.
Okay, so they quoted me $8,000 to
Yeah.
lay down the turf and the sand and the
Yeah.
dirt. But then you can just peel that top layer of turf off, and it'll cost you like $1,000, $2,000 to replace it. So that's something to think about because if you're thinking, "Oh, I pay a guy to mow my lawn,"
Same.
it costs me $35 a time,
Yep.
and then all the weeds and all the stuff that comes around that, and then I'm paying True Green, and I'm paying the guy to spray for bugs.
Yeah.
It becomes pretty cost effective pretty quick.
How much how much do you spend in your water bill to just maintain it? Like you're just trying to keep it alive and green and short. It's like they make something that does that. You don't have to do anything to it.
I don't water it.
You gotta, of course you water it.
No, I don't.
You don't water your lawn? Okay, so it's brown.
It's not like it's not going to be on the cover of Good Housekeeping or anything.
Well, that's got to come. My last thing that I think comes, this is going to sound a little bit weird,
Okay.
but a smart toilet.
Okay.
So, a few years ago, I saw this thing.
I don't want my toilet getting too smart.
Well, hang on. This could benefit you.
Okay.
There is a tremendous amount that a doctor could tell you about your health based on what you emit.
Right.
So, I don't know who I want to have this information, but I would love to know if, based on what I'm depositing, if I've got a problem that I need to check out.
That's completely valid. It's
Yeah.
a brilliant idea.
And so, like, there is this, there's a service that you can submit a sample. You submit a sample of your solid waste, and it's an early detection sign, I think, for colon cancer and
All kinds of things.
and all kinds of things, right? So, in my mind, you're already collecting it to some degree. Do a quick amount of analysis on it. Just give me the thumbs up, or say, hey, you might want to go check this out.
Yeah. That's actually not a bad idea.
Yeah, I came up with that.
Well, hey, there's time in the day for you to explore that. Okay, so I'll hit the office topics really quick. So I've talked about this before. The VR goggles give you the full 360 view of something, and you need zero area to essentially have a ton of area. So like you could project all your screens, and if you've done video conferencing before, like you can have that person be essentially there if they're working off the same technology. So that I think will be something in the future because companies aren't in love with paying for a ton of airfare on hotels and cars and all the things that come with that. Here's one I think is really interesting: a flexible screen. So you've seen the curved screen technology, right?
Sure.
What if there was a essentially like when you were a little kid and they rolled down the map in class? If there was a screen that you would roll out and around, like on a projector screen, and it would curve, and then you could have your computer project to it. And so you need literally zero space for that, and it collapses into nothing.
Yeah.
But you could just have your an app project to it or something like that. I think that's something that comes. And then this is on the topic of cloud computing, right? So when you go into your office, every person has their own computer, and you're sharing some things on a cloud currently. But what will happen, I think, is you'll take something like an iPad or even your laptop. It'll just have no hard disk on it, like the Chromebook kind of thing. And then you'll access your Outlook and you'll access your drives in cloud apps that are sitting in the office. And then if you want to access that from somewhere else, you can dial in and access all your files in the apps, and you can be productive out of the office. So I see that coming too, because we're halfway there.
Well, we're close. I mean, we're kind of doing that to a large degree anyway. I mean,
and a lot of things.
Office 365 is
365.
Yeah. When I think about like the workplace of the future, I'm thinking less about the office and more about the potential that all of this cloud and all of this connected office and virtual office, the opportunities that brings. So industry has been relegated to the cities and the metropolitan areas that best support it.
Right.
So you've got New York and Chicago and LA and San Francisco and Dallas and Houston, and all these that are like very.
I don't think you'd add Dallas and Houston to that if we didn't live in Texas.
No, well, I mean, every oil company is in Houston. You've got a ton of financial and maybe not.
Okay.
But my point being, if you want a job in Texas, where do you live? Prior to 15 years ago, you lived in Houston or you lived in Dallas.
Right.
Okay. Now, Austin is getting that way. But my point is, I'm thinking about, so Amazon is talking about their HQ2, and they've narrowed it down to 20 cities. It would have been, 30 years ago, there's 4 choices, right?
Right.
It's going to be San Francisco, LA, New York, Chicago. That's it. And now, because you can attract a remote workforce, places like Raleigh and Austin, and Oklahoma City's not in there, but it doesn't have to be so city specific because of the resources that are there, because you can access resources from anywhere.
Right. And all you need is that fast connection.
That's right. You don't need even space.
Right.
You don't need millions of square footage of office space.
Right.
So to me, I'm thinking about like we have the way we industrialize got very city specific. Even driving around like Texas, for instance, you've got all these little towns that are just dead because the highway didn't go through there. And so they just sort of died. And I can see, not necessarily that small, but some of these second tier cities and locations becoming much more of a prominent player because I could live there and remote connect in and work for a big company.
Absolutely. And that dovetails on one of the things I'm thinking is that, you don't need all that square footage. That's my gut instinct.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the things that will be more of a factor, and I found this online just before we had the conversation, is companies will share spaces. Like you won't buy a whole building and then put your people in there and have a 50-year lease, or I don't think that's a thing, maybe like 15 years lease. And what you'll do is you'll share a floor with your close partners. So like if you're IBM, you own half this floor and you've got your folks over here, but you've got the folks from Accenture and Deloitte in the same office that work together, so that you are interfacing with those people rather than just your own all the time.
It's like a WeWork building.
Yeah, I think there's future possibilities there.
Yeah.
So, all right, that is the breakdown of future home and office. Any closing thoughts?
I would just say if we mentioned it, you might want to put some stock, buy some stock in it because we're sort of trend setting this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially the toilet.
Yes, the toilet. Chris is going to let you borrow that idea. Okay, so the way we're doing this today is this is the end of part 1. If you want to listen to part 2, we'll publish them both to iTunes, Google, and YouTube, and we'll put everything in its entirety on YouTube in one episode like you're used to seeing. All right, we'll be right back. Okay, we'll cut that one. Welcome back to the Unconsumed podcast, episode 10, part 2. For the first time ever, we are breaking this up for you. So we just talked about the future of the home office, the office, and also the house.
Yes.
So the second part of our conversation today is around the future of like style and like fashion and stuff, because I have been dressing the same way since I was born. Like I've got like when I'm at home, I wear basketball shorts and a t-shirt. I've recently transitioned to, because it's hot in Texas, from the t-shirt to a like a fishing shirt.
Yes.
They're so light and nice. So that's what I wear at the house all the time.
These are Oshkosh Bagosh jeans he's wearing. They're 41 Ts.
Instead of the, because I used to wear the ones that they had the clips on the top.
Overalls.
The overalls, yeah.
Sure.
So I wear the Oxford on top of the overalls.
You've been dressing the same since you were born.
No, I'm serious. Like the same things are there. I wear the same brands. Nothing has changed.
Yeah.
But what's hilarious to me is that the style and fit of things and where people are getting their buying notions from and how they buy them have changed dramatically. So you and I were at lunch, and the first thing I've noticed in the past 10 years, think of what you were wearing 10 years ago. And you had mentioned you had a pair of jeans.
Yeah. And not even that old. I was cleaning out my closet the other day because I'm kind of a one in, one out guy. So if I get a new pair of pants, I want another pair out.
Is that generally the accounting principles?
Exactly. Yeah. It's good for accounting and also just keeps me from ending up on Hoarders. I have this really big fear of being on Hoarders. So so I pull out some old jeans and I'm like, oh, these aren't that old. I'll put them on. And I put them on and I couldn't believe how wide the legs were. Like I could have put both of my legs in, each leg of these pants.
What brand were they?
Those were, I think Abercrombie. I'm like sad to say.
Good for you.
But they were like boot fit, so I would wear them with boots. They were boot cut. And back when I would wear, boots more often. But even other ones, like I had some Lucky ones that were like that, and I had some Joe's ones that were like that. But it was just crazy to me. Like I put them on, I'm like, I can't believe I wore these like this decade. It hasn't even been that long. So yeah, I've noticed pants are getting smaller. By the way, at the same time, phones have gotten bigger.
Yes.
Like some of these pants, I sit down and my phone's like hitting me in the chin. Like I got no space.
Yeah. The first thing I noticed is that everything has gotten way tighter.
Yeah.
And this is unfortunate because Americans are not getting smaller.
True.
And yet we're being like, everyone's got to wear these tight clothes.
Yeah, I know. It makes me feel fat all the time. Like I've got these slim fit shirts. I'm sitting on a plane and my buttons are like doing like this. It's like, oh hey everybody, I just ate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I've been sucking in for like 6 years.
There's this old Peyton Manning commercial that I used to play while games were on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "Hey, dude," in his Peyton Manning talk. It's like, "Hey, dude, you're not an XL anymore. Get a bigger shirt." And I think there's honorability and nobility to understanding what size you are.
I agree. Also, knowing what size you are for me kind of keeps me in line. Like,
right.
I'm wearing a size 33 pant. I'm not going up to a 34. So if I start to press the limits of these pants,
time to kick it back.
Time to kick it into gear.
Yeah.
Get to the gym. Stop eating so many tacos.
I haven't seen a briefcase in years.
A briefcase.
Remember briefcases?
Yeah.
And you'd hit when my dad would come home when I was a little kid, he had a briefcase.
That noise. Pop.
Pop. And I'd be like, ooh. And you'd dig around in there and there's 90 pens and notebooks and things.
Dude, that's so funny you mentioned that. So when I graduated from college in 1998, and my oldest brother David is like 9 years older than me. So he's like just barely, behind, almost a generation kind of behind. And he got me a briefcase, I think, for graduation, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? And it was just barely out of date. Like people had just stopped carrying briefcases. But I had it, and I remember like carrying it around a couple of times. And I'm like, I don't know what all would go in here. Like I'm trying to think of things to put in there, like CDs and
same stuff you put in your bag
crackers
for work. Well, it's huge though.
It's huge,
so much area.
Yeah, but today I carry a bag because I put my computer in it. Yeah. But in 2000, we weren't going home with our computers for work. Our computer was stuck on our desk at work.
Yeah,
so there was nothing to put in it.
Yeah, like the older briefcases, if you've seen these, are like full-on suitcases.
Yes,
and because there was a time at the end there, and you could still probably buy one today, where the briefcase is low profile and it fits like a 17-inch or something like that, and it's relatively thin. But the ones that my dad used to carry home were like 20 pounds.
yeah, they were heavy
and hilarious.
My dad always had a pistol in his.
Did he really?
Oh yeah, dude. This was Texas. I mean, everybody, this is gun rack and stuff. But yeah, his briefcase, he'd pop it open, and I don't know what else is in there, but I always noticed there was a pistol in it.
Well, good for him. And, exercising his Second Amendment right.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. So here's what I think about. I try to stay sort of with the times, but I recognize that as I get older, I don't want to look like I am 20.
Right.
But I used to always notice, I can remember making this point, I would see like an old man in my neighborhood mowing the lawn, and he'd be wearing like khakis, like Dockers, and a button-down shirt tucked in with a belt.
Right.
I'm like, this guy is dressed like I would go on a date, like to dinner. And that's how he's dressing down to mow his lawn. His shirt is tucked in with a belt and khakis with a crease.
Yeah.
He's mowing his lawn.
That's how my dad does it. Like he'll wear this shirt every day tucked in and only recently has he introduced jeans into the mix.
Wow.
So it used to be
he feels like he's slubbing.
Yes. And I don't think I've ever seen him wear sweatpants.
Yeah.
Ever.
See, okay, so I see a lot of value in the Steve Jobs fashion idea.
Right.
Which he decided long ago, this was written about in his biography and probably everywhere else, that this is a decision I don't need to make every day. I'm going to wear a black turtleneck and jeans and sandals, and that's the end of it. Mm-hmm. And so it's easy. He didn't make that decision anymore. Nobody thinks about what he's wearing. Nobody talks about what he's wearing.
So have you employed any of that in your own setup? Because I know you like even if you scroll through on the left or on the right, actually, all of our videos, like you wear different shirts, but they're all similar in
what I
style
did was I kind of like I'm fairly brand loyal, and not because I love what the brand stands for, but I think I want to find a size and a fit that I know is right, and then if I want a different color, I can get it. But like I wear the same brand of jeans, I wear the same brand of shirt,
right?
Because they all fit the same, and if they start to get too baggy, I toss them. I put this on today because I realized I hadn't worn this shirt in the podcast, and this will be the last time I wear this shirt. It's way too baggy. Look at it. It's like frumpy.
I think it fits nicely.
Yeah, well, it would have like 3 years ago.
Yeah, so the thing you're talking about on the Steve Jobs thing is it's been noted and studied a little bit, and it's called decision fatigue. So if you're like one of these high-ranking business guys or anything where you make so many decisions a day, you're looking to mitigate out decisions that should be on autopilot.
Right.
And so he was like, I'm just going to wear the same thing every day.
Yeah.
And I've tried to do the same thing to some extent. I don't make as many decisions as Steve Jobs, but like same brand, same size, same cuts. When I buy shoes, I buy the same brand of shoe and the same size, so I know what I'm getting. Mm-hmm. Because there is that thing that happens that is when you're, and this happens very occasionally when something else comes into the mix. Mm-hmm. is something doesn't fit right, and it makes you feel weird all day.
Right, yeah.
And that I don't ever want that feeling if I can stop it. And so that I'm just doing the same thing.
A few years ago, I decided that I was going to have like these staples. Like if I was going to wear a polo shirt, it was going to be this one, and it was going to be one of 4 colors. Because I loved the idea of the decision fatigue, and just like knowing how something fits, and then just wearing it. And if you see me wear a blue polo once a week, so what, right? It's clean. It doesn't have holes in it. No big deal. But I just never got to that point yet.
Yeah. Well, so like there's a lot of ways with online shopping as it is now. Like you find a shirt you want, and if you've tried it on, like for instance, I know who makes this shirt. I know the size. I can go on Amazon and say quantity 5.
Right.
I do that with blue and white shirts, or I can say throw in the blue and white stripe as a change-up.
Yeah, I noticed.
Oh yeah.
Very fancy today for episode 10.
Yes, exactly. So there's that. So in the past 10 years, suits have become almost non-existent.
It's true.
So like, jeans, Oxford jacket is kind of the middle ground.
I'm so happy about it.
Yeah,
It's my favorite trend in fashion.
so it is a great trend, and it's great where it is right now. But if you look at where this goes, I think we're also developing a whole business culture of complete slouch.
Yeah, it's true. I try to walk a little bit of the in-between, but, I think back to the days where men wore suits to work every single day. Golly, how many suits did you need? At least 5,
Yeah.
right? That's a lot of suits.
And those guys got older, and now they're wearing Dockers to cut their lawn.
Yeah, I know. My dad had a ton of suits in his closet, and I've got 3.
I've got 3 suits.
And I just never, I wear them when I interview for a job, and that's it.
Did you wear?
Actually, no, I didn't even. No, I didn't.
Yeah,
I haven't
I
worn a
didn't either.
suit for the last 3 interviews.
I own 3 suits, and someone got married each time when I
Yeah.
got it.
Weddings and funerals.
That's it.
You can't show up slouch at either one of those.
No. Okay, so then I've got. There were no beards 10 years ago,
That's true.
and now everyone has a beard. Welcome to the club, by the way.
I am a former member. I stepped away. I've rejoined.
Yeah.
I just get bored. I, try something new.
I hate shaving.
I also don't like shaving.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
So I don't think I ever shave. I just do the trimmer thing.
No, well, you don't like trim. You trim like under here.
Oh, I shave on the
Yeah,
ankles,
yeah.
yeah.
But
You
that
have
takes
to.
like 2 minutes.
Otherwise, you'll look like a barbarian.
Agreed.
So
But yeah,
beards have went from completely unacceptable to everyone's got a beard now,
yeah.
except women.
Yeah, most women don't.
And then there are brands that everyone wears. So like we work at a tech company, and if you walk down the hall, there's all the developers,
Yeah.
and they all wear the same exact thing.
Do they?
Yes. So every single one of them. Well, I shouldn't say that.
You can generalize here. We're in a generalization friendly zone.
Well, I'm not worried about
I know.
upsetting anybody.
I know.
I'm trying to be
Trying to be accurate?
semi-accurate. I'd say 7 out of 10 of them wear those Allbirds shoes.
Do they? I haven't noticed that.
Oh yeah, that's like the thing that developers wear for shoes.
I love the Allbirds.
They're great shoes.
Yeah, I love them.
I got the white ones, and they
You got to get the birch.
Birch is good. They only make 3 colors at a time though.
No, they've added a couple.
They have?
Yeah, so they've gotten now a gray one with the gray sole. I'm thinking again, it's like black with a gray sole.
Okay,
I'm thinking of picking that one up.
that might be cool.
They're great.
I spilled coffee on my white merino wool shoes.
Have you washed them yet?
No, so like I'm hoping, because I've spilled coffee on other things too,
Yeah.
and it doesn't seem to come out. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, here's the other piece of fashion that I think is coming, or that's here, but will be a bigger part of the future, and that is this mail order, this kind of continuous delivery model. Mm-hmm. So, in the same vein of I have a shirt I like, I've been a big proponent of this T-shirt service called Woven.
Right.
It's incredible, and I was looking for T-shirts that didn't have a lot of words on them, that didn't have a brand on them, but also weren't plain, and that fit good, right? And so I don't know how I stumbled onto this, but I did, and they send you a new T-shirt every month for $15. It's really great, and they all have like a different specific design that some designer made, and they tell you about who made it. That's really cool. So I can see the same.
Add something to what's annoying me this week, based on that comment.
Okay, good. But I could see that being for jeans, like twice a year they're going to send you some jeans, or and then you've got all those services like what's the men's box, Trunk Club,
yeah,
and then the woman's is
I don't know what the latest is. Trunk Club works for women too, though, I think.
Yeah, but it started out as men.
Yeah. Okay.
Stitch Fix. That's the one that, like the first one I had heard of that my wife did a little bit.
Yeah. So I used Trunk Club when it was brand new in Chicago. I guess that's where it started.
Yep.
And I had a buddy that called me, was starting to be one of the guys that worked there. I went in there and I loved all the things that they had. They're a little bit
they're pricey,
a little more fashionable than I am, but
true.
It was so egregiously expensive.
Yeah.
I think I walked out of there with like a jacket, 2 pairs of pants, shoes, and a sweater. It cost me $1,000.
Yeah, and you've had to, because so the first time I did it was the mail order, and this person sent me a box, and I talked to this. I was like, this is a great idea. I'm talking to the stylist. She's like, describe for me what you like and what you don't. And I sent her a picture and my sizes. I'm like, this is really cool. And she sends me all this stuff, and I was like, yeah, I love this shirt. And I put it on. The shirt's like $150. It's like, I generally buy shirts that are, $50, $60. And, this jacket's like $800. Like,
I generally buy 4 or 5 jackets for the price.
So it was great stuff. And if I had more money, maybe that would be a really cool thing to do. Or maybe there's a way to do that for kind of a lower end model as well for schmoes like us.
Yeah, well, you're not going to get that kind of service or touch.
That's
or
fine.
Risk from a company to service the Jewel, Osco, or HEB level buyer,
I got one other thought on kind of future of fashion.
Okay, and then I have one more and we'll switch.
So I'm a tennis shoe guy. I really enjoy tennis shoes. The latest trend in the last few years of tennis shoes is like going away from leather and using more knit fabrics.
Right.
So Adidas has Prime Knit, Nike has Flyknit, I believe. And everyone's kind of going to that, which it's a much better material. It's more sustainable. You're not using cows. It's not fake leather that cracks and wears out over time.
What's with your, ploy on saving the animals and plants and stuff today?
It's less how much I care about it and more that it is more cared about broadly.
Right.
And they wouldn't do it if it wasn't cheaper, right? I mean, so they can do these things cheaper and still charge $180 for shoes.
Yeah. Let's not pretend that they're worried about the humanity of the cow.
It's the same thing with the grocery stores that tell you to bring your own bags. Mm-hmm. They don't care about the environment with the plastic bags. They don't want to buy plastic bags.
Yes.
So the next thing that's coming, so Adidas is coming out with a tennis shoe any day now called the Future Craft. So it's knitted top, and the sole, the bottom of it, is 3D printed.
Okay.
And the cool thing there is, so think about like the sole of your tennis shoe today. It's solid foam, right? I mean, it's this big and it's foam.
Right.
Whereas if it's 3D printed, it doesn't need to be. It could be a mesh network of material that's 80% air or 50% air or whatever it is. It doesn't need to be full foam all the way across, and that's what they've done. They're 3D printing this mesh network of this material that it still has responsiveness and squishiness like you want, but it uses a lot less material. It's probably very expensive right now to make, but once they get that 3D printing down, I think that's really a cool idea.
So the whole shoe is 3D printed, or just the sole?
Just that midsole. So you have a bottom that's rubber. That's what's going to hit the road. Basically, your midsole is what all the cushioning is on a shoe.
Okay.
So on your tennis shoe, you've got the upper, and then you've got a midsole that the upper is usually like glued to or stitched to, and then the bottom is like a rubber that's going to hit the road.
Okay. I'll have to look more into that because I've not seen that.
Yeah, it's pretty fresh, but they're going to be, pretty expensive to start.
What's it called?
The Future Craft 4D.
Futurecraft 4D, 4 dimensions?
4 dimensions. Didn't we talk about
yes,
this?
we
one
did.
time? the 4D Shark Theater.
Yeah.
Oh no, it was like 5D.
5D.
Yeah, it's
3D. No.
5Ds.
Okay, 4D. 5.
But there aren't 5Ds. They won't know. More is better.
So yeah, and then the last piece I had on this is so I went to my buddy Dave's wedding, and like a new trend in weddings is they'll buy you a suit and you're in the wedding and you get to take the suit home and that's your gift, right? Seen this? That's what we did. That's what my buddy Tyler.
You
did
bought
too.
the suit for
No.
your groomsman?
Yes.
Yeah, and that ain't the trend in the weddings I've been invited to. I had to buy the suit.
Okay, so like, did you get a groomsman gift or anything?
Yeah, the tie that goes with the suit.
Okay, the tie. Okay, so I got a tie too. I got the suit. I got a shirt.
Your guy did it right.
Well, he's a good guy. So basically what happened is you measured yourself and then you sent the measurements off to a tailor and the tailor made all the suits.
Yeah.
And so he gets a good price on the suits because we're getting a bunch of them at once. And because you measured yourself in the way that you want to be measured, like you go to a tailor and he'll measure your neck and he's cutting the suit how he thinks your measurement
But
will
maybe you want it a little looser.
Right. So
Right.
I'm like, okay, give me a half inch.
Yeah.
And so I came back, and that's a suit that was the best fitting suit I've ever worn.
Sure.
With the best shirt I've ever worn because it was cut to my preference.
Yeah.
And so there is a lot of, not a lot, but there are these machines that you stand in it like you would like a.
Like at the airport or something.
Yeah, and yes, exactly, and it like does a scan of you, and it will take your exact dimensions, and so a tailor can look at that and say,
Rather than having to measure.
yeah, it can say this is exactly how the clothes you should be wearing should fit and how they should be made. So the clothing of the future is a body scan, and then you take that information and you upload it into whatever retailer you're shopping on. And we'll save this for another time, but I have like 10 things that retail will do to try to become relevant. And that'll be, you'll take your scan to the store or upload it into a website, and they will describe you the fit that you should wear.
Right.
Or if there's vendor agnostic, they'll say, oh, you should wear the Adidas brand of these shorts because your legs are longer, and they cut it for people that are your size.
Yeah, and when you take away the need for brick and mortar retail, you expand all that potential, right? I mean, brick and mortar retail is going to need to order all these pants. That's why we have small, medium, large, extra small.
Right.
Because they've got to narrow it down and they've got to fit people into a couple categories.
Right.
But if you like I've seen there's a shirt service, I think it's called Proper Cloth, that does what you're talking about with dress shirts. And you measure yourself, you take a picture. It's not electronic, but you're measuring yourself and you send it in, and they've got, like you're customizing anything, it can be any size you want. I mean,
Right.
It's just a little bit here, a little bit there.
Like your t-shirt could be a large and a quarter.
That's right. I mean, it's a large 0.5, 0.6, 0.4, right? Based on this, and this.
Right.
So, that's really interesting, though, the electronic method to do that. And then you have like a profile, that eventually you could own and take wherever you go.
Right.
Into whatever brand you get.
I could bring my phone. I can email it to them like a
say,
contact on your
here's
phone.
my
or something.
fit profile. Perfect.
Yeah. And so if you would have asked me even a year ago how relevant I think brick and mortar retail will be in the future, I would have told you very, very little. But since I've been like looking into this stuff, I think those things have a spot.
Yeah.
Maybe not at the scale. Have you ever heard that there's 10 times more retail square footage per person in the United States than there is in the UK? So we've got way more retail space than anyone else on the planet.
Yeah, I know, and I hate it. I mean, it's like I hate that view. I hate that landscape. It's one of the reasons I don't like driving around Houston, because if you're in the outskirts of Houston, it's just strip mall, strip mall, strip mall, strip mall on both sides of the road. It's just, yeah, it's ugly.
We've overbuilt in a lot of ways, but there are really, really cool uses you can use for those things. So, and without going into the entire list, I'll tell you one thing I thought was really interesting from a Forbes article I read, is that the draw to retail locations in the future won't necessarily be the shopping experience or the items that you purchase there. There will be other things that you want. So when you're talking about, in almost any future scenario that people talk about, it's, oh, humans will be disconnected and you'll just be by yourself. You'll live your life in your living room and someone will, or something will bring you the things you want and you'll just get fat, die.
And, what's the point of living?
Right. So there's a space where retail can fit this to say, come to the store. We'll have the clothes you want. We'll have the size you want in all of these different customizable ways. We'll send it to you, but we'll have attractions to the store that are entertainment or just social in nature or games or whatever that make you want to come to the store rather than do everything online.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I think people are, the generation below us is just fine being wrapped in their own cocoon world.
Yeah, well, that's all that's really been served up for them so far. So I think the alternative can be pretty compelling. So that's that. Unless you have any closing.
No, that's good.
Okay.
The future of fashion from two guys who
so
are
fashionable.
barely in the current fashion.
Chris is so hot right now. Okay, so things that are annoying Lee and Chris this week. I've got 3. How many do you have?
I've got 1. I don't have a very annoying week this week, so I'll let you start.
All right. So, number 1 is if you've got kids, the toys that they're making for them have gotten to the point where like they sense light, they sense movement. They're trying to make these super smart toys, and so when my kid is playing with them, it's great. But we have this one toy that senses light and motion, and it talks.
Yeah.
When it senses light and motion. So we've got the window open in his little toy room, and the sun comes in at about 5 a.m., 6 a.m.
And he's like a rooster in there.
And at like 6 a.m. on the dot, or 4:48 when the sun rises.
Yeah.
This toy starts singing the ABCs. And it's like, it's really startling because it's a human voice. And if you're not tuned in to what to expect, it's pretty creepy.
Yeah.
It's happened 5 or 6 times. We had to throw the toy out.
I would totally throw the toy. Even if you put it like in a closet or something like that.
Well, it also senses motion, right? So, like, I don't have too many closets in my house that aren't being used.
Yeah.
So, I open that closet to get my jacket
toy?
out. Oh, it's big. It's like a table thing, and it's got like a bunch of buttons on it. Mm-hmm. And if you open the closet and you flip the light on, A, B, C, D, or like
that's scary.
Z is for zebra. And so, yeah, you want to get those things out, and that's been annoying to me, but we've handled that. Second would be rules that apply to everyone after something bad happens. And I'm not talking like I'm not going to gun control or anything like that.
Yeah.
But like, if say like think of your office building. Someone tailgates someone with a badge and they walk in.
Yes.
And so now because that happened, we need to have an alarm that goes off if the door isn't closed within 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's just like, now the alarm goes off 10 times a day.
Yeah.
It's not worth what you gain.
We worked at an office before together in a prior life, and the inside of the stalls in the men's room had these pieces of paper that were like taped up there that said, "Do not flush flushable wipes in the toilet." Like these, I don't know. It was some very long, descriptive explanation about flushing wipes. I'm like, when did this happen?
Right.
Did it happen once? Come on. Now everyone who comes in this bathroom has to read about like flushable wipes.
Yeah, I never saw that, but that company, I can see how that would.
Yeah, that was annoying.
Something going on there. But yeah, so don't make a rule after one bad thing happens, or even if you're looking at a large enough sample size, we don't need to make a rule if it happens 100 times.
Yeah, you're right.
Because it cannot wait. Anyways, that's my 2, and then I've got one more. Go ahead.
Well, I talked a long time ago about the annoyance of the car buying process, and I think I also talked about the home buying process. Well, I'm still in the process of buying my new truck.
Okay.
Should get it tomorrow. But this process has been slightly annoying.
We were talking about this on like episode 2.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Right.
So I'll say that like the process still is broken of acquiring something like a car, which is a commodity that has a few options. It's not that difficult. I don't understand the need for dealerships and all of this regulatory infrastructure that we've imagined around it and built an industry around. But on that point, sort of on that point, there's a new documentary series on Netflix you may have seen called Dirty Money. Have you seen this advertised? It's brand new out. It's really cool. I watched the first episode, and it's about the Volkswagen saga and about how they were cheating the emissions and all that.
Somebody else got in trouble for that too, by the way, recently.
Well, a lot of people had prior. I think they were the ones that were just so, systemic about it, and it was, highest level kind of thing. But that's a pretty cool series. You got
okay, I'll check that
out. And it looks like there's, I don't know how many episodes, but deals with kind of a different dirty money issue on each one. So I don't have a new necessarily thing that's grinding my gear. It's the same one that's been grinding my gear for 8 weeks.
So you are, like I've said this a couple times, you are one of the best venters in complaining that I know.
Thank you.
And it's eloquent and to the point.
It's with pride.
And you've had less things to talk about since this truck saga has been going on.
Yeah, it's occupying all of my
annoyance.
So expect, hopefully, I get that tomorrow, and then I'm back to my full range of things that are annoying me.
Yeah. All right, perfect. I've got one last one that comes in the clothing category too.
Okay.
And it is this. So people wear clothes, and sometimes they'll use their clothes to identify with a group. So like you wear a shirt that says Chicago Bears on it, or Houston Texans, or
if you go to the rodeo and you wear your cowboy hat.
Yeah, or your belt buckle.
Yeah, okay.
Or the band shirt that you wore at the concert in 2010.
Got it.
So there is something that Nike is particularly guilty of doing this, and they're selling it to kids. And it is those shirts that say like, I something something, and it's like an arrogant statement. I'm the best. Or,
yes.
Or the other thing is
very familiar with those.
We, and then it's something else.
Yeah.
And so I just think it's the
all day buckets all day and stuff like that.
Like I get buckets all day. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like, or like we don't stop or something.
Yeah.
It's like who is we? It's so annoying to me because the subtlety is you do wear clothes to identify with groups or things that you're interested in, but there's no subtlety in being like, we do this. And it's also unequivocally false. Like these kids are wearing shirts.
My son does not get buckets all day.
No.
He mostly shoots air balls.
And I can't stand it. So like this is a really dumb thing to grind my gears, but
no, I think that's pretty funny because we have several of those shirts.
And there's these like shirts for little girls that have like sassy comments on them.
So
like, girl power. Like
I saw a thing one day, a story about this, and it was the difference between little girls' clothes, what's made for little girls, and what's made for little boys.
Right.
And little boys' shirts, if they have sayings, are all like that. They're dominant. They're aggressive. I'm a winner. And the stuff that's made for little girls is I'm a princess. Look at me, I'm pretty. Like it's all about their looks and demurring. And I know there's probably some angle of we can't be too politically correct, but if the only options for you when you're 6 are things that are pink and say that you're pretty, or that are black and red and say I get buckets all day, like you tell people something over and over, they believe it.
There's truth to that, yeah.
Right. So if you tell someone they're really good at something all the time, they're going to believe it, right?
Yep.
Tiger Woods' dad told him every single day that he's going to change the world, and he believed it.
I thought you were going to say, like, speak to his abilities, because he became it.
Yeah, he did, but part of it is a mindset, I think. And so, there's something to be said for confidence, and, if you're told that you suck every day, you probably, to some degree, believe it.
Yeah, but I'll
By the way, you suck. I'm going to tell you that tomorrow, too.
I believe it. So the thing is that drives me the most nuts about these shirts is, the subtlety of identifying with a group is completely lost, and that's one thing. But no one the guy who gets the most buckets all day doesn't wear that shirt.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Or the fastest person on the planet doesn't wear a shirt that says I'm fast.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what it is, but there's some sort of, we talk a lot about social contracts, and there's something about like the top person never has to say it.
Yeah. Yeah. I got one more.
Whoa, did I spawn something?
You did. Yeah, and this is a good one. So my son is now very interested in baseball. He's going to play baseball, which I'm super excited about. It's cool because I played as a kid. We can throw the ball, and there's something really fun about that. But they have tryouts last Saturday. The way the tryout works is that each kid individually goes to shortstop. Coach hits them 3 balls. They got to field it, throw it to first. Then they get on the mound, and they got to throw 3 pitches into the net. Then they get up to bat, and they throw them 3 pitches. Only 3 pitches. And I get it. Like, you're going to run through 150 kids in a day, like 3 pitches. So there's like 12 coaches lined up, and they're basically taking notes on each kid. There's all kinds of dads around. The guy that was throwing pitches to these kids was an absolute idiot. He could not throw the ball to the plate, and he started from like 5 feet in from the pitcher's mound.
Right.
So all he's got to do is throw this thing to somewhere in here for these kids, and more than half the time he bounced it in front of the plate or threw it too high or threw it too low, and these kids are like, trying to swing and trying to dip down and swing. And
you only get 3 pitches.
You only get 3 pitches. Yeah. And so I saw this go on like 3 or 4 times, and my son's kind of waiting in line, and there's another coach behind the field. I was like, hey, dude, you want me to come pitch batting practice to these kids? He's like, no, we got it. I'm like, you're not even seeing half these kids like take a good swing.
Right.
It was really annoying.
Is it tryouts for like a travel team?
No, but if you haven't played before, they have you try out because they want to make these teams even.
Yeah.
So they might say rank everybody 1 through 5, and then everybody gets a 1, everybody gets a 2, everybody gets a 3. So it's more to make it even.
You should have your kids sandbag so you can be on a good team.
Yeah, I thought about that.
Because that would make your experience of watching the game more enjoyable.
That's what it's all about.
That's what I'm talking about.
He actually did really well, by the way.
Fantastic.
Very proud of him.
Good for him. All right, guys, that is episode 10, part 2 completed. So thanks for your time, and we'll see you next week.